Do you feel like your outreach script is the biggest thing that's holding you back in your business because it's not allowing you to book the amount of appointments that you want to book and get the amount of clients that you need to get in order to live the lifestyle that you want? Then this video is going to be extremely valuable to you. This is just basically me diving into one of my clients' outreach spreadsheets and basically going through the scripts and seeing why they're not performing. It's basically me troubleshooting my clients' outreach and then changing the scripts based on the results that I get. So if you actually want to know how I write this copy as well, I'm going to show you all of the scripts later in the video as well. If you want to know how I actually go about doing that, you should, because that's really what's going to move the needle for you. But this is going to be very valuable if you can actually stick through and watch it. I know not everyone has the attention span to actually build their business, so I can't expect all of you to do that. But nonetheless, for those of you that do, this is going to be extremely valuable. So let's just hop into it. So the first step for anything else, like this is step 0, foundational stuff here. We need to have metrics to track, okay? Because if we don't have metrics to track, we don't know what the problem is in the system if it's not working, right? So for example, these are my different metrics. I'd have my positive reply rate, my engaged reply rate. I'm going to explain to you what this means, my calendar send rate, and my appointment booking rate, okay? So if I just saw this 0.21% appointment booking rate, which is not good, by the way, then I would be like, okay, well, there's like a million things that could be wrong with the system, but now I know I have a good positive reply rate, I have a good engaged reply rate, I have a good calendar send rate, but I still have a bad appointment booking rate. Now I have a lot more information that I can use to make a decision. Okay, so I'm running 2 accounts for him. So this is one, they're performing similarly, obviously, because we're using the exact same, we're using the same script, right? I'm going to show you the script as well. So you can do what you want with that, right? So basically, what we have here is all the metrics, right? And I have my VA track these. I don't do this myself because I have more important things to do. But this does need to be done, okay? If you're running your own campaign, which you probably are, you need to be tracking these every single day, okay? I'm using a software called Drippy.ai to actually send these messages. This is a Twitter DM campaign, by the way. I can make a whole video on how I actually use that to get more clients. If you want me to show you, you can just leave a comment below, and then I will make a video on that, okay? But these are all the positive replies we get. These are all the messages that we sent. These are all the engaged replies that we sent. These are all the calendars that we sent, and these are all the appointments that we okay. And basically, our system kind of works like we send the message. It's basically just asking a closed-ended question. If you watch the copywriting video with the free course thumbnail, you should go watch that after this video because it will explain this a lot better. Okay, so basically what this means is we're sending them a message trying to just get a response. Once we get that response, then we basically ask them if we can send them our message or like our main pitch, right? That's when, if they say yes to that, then they're engaged, they're giving us an engaged reply. Then we send them our pitch. If they say, okay, I like the pitch, then we send them our calendar. And then if we send them our calendar, then percentage of them will book, right? So that's our system. Now, an 11% positive reply rate on Twitter is like pretty fantastic. Okay, 11.5%. Now, there's one thing that I need to mention before I actually go into how we need to, before we actually make any changes to our script. Okay, so we have all these metrics here, right? But the problem is it's February 4th, and these were taken in the end of January. So not very much time has passed since these last few. Okay, so the rule of thumb that you need to go by is the last point of data that you're taking should not have been within the last 7 days, okay? So 7 days ago, it was the 28th. I believe it was the 28th, 7 days ago. If I can do math, which, yeah, so 7 days ago was the 28th, right? So these metrics here are not valid. And the reason why they're not valid is because not enough time has passed for us to be able to get as many calendars sent as we normally can, right? So a lot of the times you're going to send a message to someone and you'll only end up booking an appointment with them like a week later. Now, it is better to actually take 2 weeks earlier. In this case, I'm getting a bit lazy and I'm just doing 1 week, which is probably a not very good example. But you kind of get the point, right? Where you can't just take, like if I send a message yesterday and then like if I sent 100 messages yesterday and no one replied, that like they all might reply tomorrow, right? It's possible. So we have to give enough time in order for them to be able to respond to us. So when I'm looking at these metrics, all this data here is not valid because we haven't let enough time pass for this to become accurate. So we actually have to delete this, which is going to make our positive reply rate even higher, obviously, because these messages have allowed more time to elapse. We have to make sure we send at least 300 outreaches because things regress to the mean, right? So if you send like 10 outreaches and no one replies, that is not really indicative of whether you have a 0% reply rate or not, because you only sent 10. But if you send 100, or 300 is the number that I always go by, and no one replies, then obviously you have a problem, right? So you have to make sure you've sent at least 300 messages. In this case, we have a testing size of 900 messages, so we're more than enough here, and all these are taken at least 7 days ago, okay? It is better to do 14, in which case I would remove all these, but then we don't have enough data to test with, so I'm kind of getting lazy there. So that's what we have to do initially before we actually make these changes. Another thing that I want to cover, right? If you like make a change to your copy like halfway through here, you cannot take this whole data set and call it as one thing because you're literally changing the system halfway through. So you have to make sure this is all the same. Now I know I have not changed any of my copy in the last like 3 weeks. So this is all valid data. Okay. This is all good to work with, except for the fact that this happened 7 days ago, but we'll ignore that for the purpose of this video, okay? So basically, what we need to do here is we need to figure out at which part of the process, right, from here to here, here to here, here to here, or here to here, are people dropping off at. Now, if we look at these metrics, right, we can see, sorry, we can see that we have a positive reply rate of 13%, which on Twitter is freaking fantastic, okay? You cannot ask for better than this. Now, our engaged reply rate is 8.5%, which is still solid, right? It's within KPI. It's within our permissible range, which is good. Our positive reply rate to engaged reply rate is 65%, which is okay, right? I'm not complaining about that. And then our calendar send rate, or our engaged reply to calendar send rate is 18%. I would like 20, but 18% is not the end of the world, right? Like we can work with this. Now, when we go even further, we notice that our calendar send rate to appointment booking rate is 21%. And even though this calendar send rate of 1.57 is not bad, right? Like that's something that we can definitely work with. This is a problem, okay? But now what we can see is this part of the system works, the front part, the second part works, the third part works, and there's only one part left, and it doesn't work. So we look at this and we see an appointment booking rate of 0.34%, but we have to realize that we're only one problem away from fixing the whole system, right? We're only one transition from this to this away. Like this is the only metric that's off. If we can fix this, then we fix the entire system. And we can, like, if we fix this, we can triple the amount of appointments that we book. Achieving like a 0.9% ABR from a 1.6 calendar sent rate is reasonable. Okay. So we can look at here too, and it's going to be like a very similar circumstance. And I think this one improves even more. So yeah, so this one's 8.5% positive reply rate. Not as good as this one, but it's still fine, right? It works. And then 6.7 engaged reply rate. This conversion rate here is slightly better. Like it's going to be slightly different. And the accounts are different too, but I don't think that really makes that much of a difference. And then the calendar send rate is very similar, right? It's like barely lower. And then our appointment booking rate, it still kind of sucks, right? And actually, yeah, our calendar sent to appointment booking rate is even worse here. But when we look at this, right, and we can even take the next 7 here because we actually have more data here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? If we remove all of this stuff, this is actually more accurate. And obviously it increased, which makes sense because we let more time pass here, right? So this is probably more accurate data than this. This should still improve. Like if we wait another week, it will improve. But if we look at here, right? Now, we see a similar pattern, which we should, right? If we saw a completely different like transitioning of metrics between just changing 2 accounts and nothing else is different, right? Like keep in mind we're using the exact same script for both of these things. If we saw like extremely different metrics, I would be like, what the heck is going on, right? Like one of the account is probably getting like banned or something. But we see that we have similar metrics between the 2 accounts. So they probably have the same problem, which is this, okay? Now, we have a calendar sent to appointment booking rate problem. That is our only problem with the system, right? Because everything before it works. If we fix this problem, we fix the whole system. Now, the question is, how do we fix this problem? Okay. Well, we have to look at the components of what it takes from when we get someone to, like, what are the components of this metric? So what I mean by that, for example, right? So if we had a low open rate on a cold email campaign, there could be a couple of reasons why it's not working. There could be some components as to why that's not working, right? So one component could be you're going to spam. The other component could be like your subject line is terrible, and the third component would be like you're sending from a Gmail domain, right? I don't know, but it's gonna be one of those three things, or maybe you're like sending during like midnight. Okay, that could be another reason why. So four things that could possibly be the problem. Okay, so you can easily check if you're sending at midnight. You probably aren't. Okay, um, are you sending from a Gmail? You can easily check that you're not. Okay, so now it can only be two things. There's only two possible things that it could be, right? So it could be your subject line sucks, or it could be that you are, what's the other one? You're going to spam, right? So now you want to just send emails, like cold emails to your friends, and then see if it goes to spam. If it does, then you know that's the problem, and then you fix it. If you know it's not going to spam, then your problem is the subject line. So now you can fix subject line. Okay, so that's how you break it down to these smaller components. So in this case, right, I sent them a calendar and they didn't book. There is two reasons why that could be. One, we haven't let enough time pass to send all the follow-ups, okay? And I actually haven't really done that, but it shouldn't be this low still, okay? So that's, I mean, for this one I have, right? For this one I have, and it's still low. For this one, for the second one here, I could probably be a little bit more patient, but I wanted to record this video, and I'm not perfect, okay? So there's two things, right? We're not sending enough follow-ups, which we are sending enough follow-ups. We just haven't waited for them yet. And the other thing that could possibly be the reason is that our calendar sent message, actually there's a couple reasons. Our calendar sent message is not good, and we don't have enough spots on our calendar. Okay? Those are the only three things that it could be, right? Now, we are sending our follow-ups, okay? There are enough spots on our calendar. That means that the only possible reason why this isn't working is because when we send the calendar link, the message is not good. Okay, so now here's the change that I made to this campaign, and I'm not sure that it works, right? Because this is just my theory as to why it isn't working, and now I have to actually implement that theory and test it. So my theory, right, my hypothesis is that the messaging, like the messaging of that calendar sent message, is poor. Okay, so I made a change to it, right? And I'm only changing that because I'm only testing one thing. If I change multiple things and then I come back in like 3 weeks and I notice a difference in the metrics, I don't know which part of the thing that I changed was actually the cause, right? So we're only changing one thing at a time here. So I just made this today, right? We're changing the calendar sent message. Okay, so this is a brand new client, right? Or kind of new. We came in with this messaging, and now we're making our first change here. So our old message was this, right? We were saying great name. Well, the next easiest step then would be to schedule in. We can just talk about how we might be able to do this. I'll leave a link below to make it easier to get a time that works for you. And then we send them the calendar link. Just let me know once you booked and I'll confirm it. Okay. Now, the reason why I think this is probably not as good as it could be was because we're saying we can talk about how this might be able to do this, right? And I think that probably gives off a lot of sales pressure. And I think there's some room as well for us to introduce other tactics and potentially make this message a little bit shorter. Okay, so how we changed this, right? We're gonna go. You can like look in here and see all of my scripts and then be a copy and paste monkey. But if we can go here, right, we see our intent to book message. Okay, so we send this when they reply to our pitch with the intent to book, right? Because at the end of the pitch, we say, I'm not sure what you got planned for your business growth, but if you wouldn't be opposed to setting up a 20-minute conversation, I'd be happy to show you how our process works. And then if you want, we can implement it for you. Does that sound reasonable? Then they say yes to that. Then we send them this message. And what we're getting right now is 25% of those people book. We want to hit at least 50%, or ideally more than like 65. Okay. So we changed the message to this. So now we're saying sweet name. Great to hear you're an action taker. Easiest next step is just to book a 15-minute intro call here. Just let me know if you booked it, and I'll confirm it. And then I say, P.S. This is not a sales call. You can leave your card at home. And it actually isn't really a sales call. It's just a like 15-minute demo call. And then they book my client books the next meeting after this demo call, right? So we just say that to lower the pressure of them booking, right? And then we made it a bit shorter, and we added this, which I think is very good, right? But at the end of the day, right? And I just want to recap this before I kind of go on. I think it's good, but I haven't tested it yet. I've used similar psychological tactics in other messages that have worked, but this is so I'm using previous knowledge to actually change this. And the reason why I think this will work is because we have given them, like, basically we've given them a reason, or not really a reason, but we've given them something to, like, a standard that they have to live up to now. Okay, so we've complimented them basically, and we told them that it's great to hear they're an action taker. So now they associate, this is like psychology, by the way, they associate themselves with being an action taker, right? So now they are more likely to book a call because they perceive themselves as an action taker, and the only logical next step that an action taker would take would be to book a 15-minute low pressure intro call, right? So that's kind of the reasoning behind that. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's my script. If this video goes viral, please don't copy this, okay? But until then, I guess you can use it. So that's basically how I made that decision, right? If you want, I'll leave a comment on this video in like probably 3 weeks, or probably a month, because we want to take stuff from at least 2 weeks prior to, and I will tell you what the results have been. If the new messaging has improved, the calendar send to appointment booking rate from 21% to hopefully 50%. But I mean, if we can even double this, like, we're still doubling the appointments we're booking. I'm still doubling the money that I'm making for my client, and I'm doubling the commission that I'm making for my client. So pretty good, even if we can just double it, right? But I think that we can definitely do that with this one change, right? And this is the end of the funnel, right? So if we can double this last thing, or even triple it, tripling is very reasonable. We can definitely hit 63% here. That is going to triple the income of my client, which is obviously what we were trying to do here. So that's pretty much my entire theory on how I actually go about changing the outreach scripts for myself, for my clients, just my entire process, okay? So if that was useful in any way at all, I would appreciate if you hit the subscribe button. Helps me a lot to know which videos of mine are actually the most useful, and it will help you as well, just because YouTube's going to recommend you more videos that are actually conducive to you improving your business, okay? So if you made it to the end of this video and you want the metric tracker that I used in this video, as well as you want access to my private Facebook group, it's completely free, but I do coaching with my community on Saturdays. So if you want either one of those things, just go to the second link in the description. You can see my Facebook profile is going to be linked there. Just send me a DM saying scripts in all caps, and I'll know what you're talking about, and I will send you the tracking sheet as well as the link to the Facebook group. But that's pretty much it. Okay, if you enjoyed the video, at the very least, make sure you're actually applying this knowledge into your business. The last thing that I want you to do is just sit on YouTube and watch these videos and not actually take any action on them, okay? So take action on what you learned today. Rewatch it if you have to, and that's pretty much it.